Hey, what's everybody doing tonight? Or this morning, whatever you're doing. Looks like the witch is in. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to continue this from my last videos, and I wanted to make a correction about something. Only I'm not sure what it is at the moment. It was from my last video, and I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that there were things that were said before this wedding and there were things that were said after the wedding. How do you feel about it what are you supposed to think about it when you find out that there were things that you should have known prior to marriage? Who would be obligated to tell you about those things, do you think? Who do you think it would be that would be obligated to tell you those things? What I wanted to tell you from my other video was that when I was telling you that my ex revealed to me that morning when he started confessing about the boy that he sexually abused that lived up the street from him just a short time into his baptism back in 78, 79, whatever year it was. I wasn't in the organization at the time. When he when he told me about this little girl that he sexually abused, a 3-year-old, he told me that he did it when he was 13. So as far as what he had done to children after that, when he became a grown man, what you're gonna see is a rabbit hole. Aren't rabbit holes lovely? Excuse me. So he told me that he did this to a 3-year-old when he was 13. You know what he was doing. He was watering it down, and he didn't tell me the more recent incident that Jerry Corson had learned about when he came up the street and saw the police cars. So it's all wrapped up in lies and hiding the truth and people knowing things and they don't bother to tell the bride. Look at that. That's June. You know who June is? Yeah, she went to the East congregation. That's his mother. One of her granddaughters tried to tell me that she didn't know about it. You know what? It's your word against mine. Because, not only did her husband die quite a few years later, but she was also just bawling her eyes out the last few times I saw her. I'd go over to her house. It was kind of rude. But whether she was mourning over her husband or not, I don't know. But she would just sit around and just bawl her eyes out in front of me. And I couldn't help but wonder, why would you do that? Did you know things? I think that she knew things. I believe that she knew that her son had did that disgusting thing to the boy up the street. Child molestation is a pretty raunchy practice. This is a serial child rapist. He likes to give little kids oral sex, and the younger they are, the better. We probably have heard of different situations like that, and maybe the newness of it, the shock of it has wore off after all these years, because it's become pretty common that there's all kinds of child rapists out there, and people kind of tend to blow it off. But when it comes to a religious organization, I mean, are they under obligation to inform a bride about the prospective mate's past? I mean, look at me. This is me in the wedding picture, one of them. My hair looks awful, and that dress, honey, this is what I describe as thoroughly brainwashed. That dress, my mother made that dress. The cake, my sister's friend from her church made that cake. What happens when your groom tells you an hour before the wedding, oh, by the way, I have a thing about children. Now I'm going to say, I'm not going to stretch the truth here. It was probably 2 hours before the wedding. It might have been an hour and a half. He calls me up and starts asking me a bunch of questions over the phone. This is the morning of the wedding, and of course we all know that Watchtower does not believe the way that the world does. So it's okay to see the bride before the wedding because they don't believe in bad luck, you know. So, they don't believe in bad luck. So seeing the bride before the wedding doesn't matter. He told me these things and he tried to guilt trip me. It was all manipulation, see? He manipulated me into telling him about my past and tried to make me feel like my past was horrible. My past was not horrible. I wasn't a felon. So he does this because he's about to take the lid off of his past, but he waters it down and makes me believe that what happened, what he was about to tell me, happened a long time ago. Oh, it was a long time ago. No, it doesn't matter now. That was a long, long time ago. I was just a kid, and I was just experimenting, and that's just what that's just what kids do. I was just curious. So, what do? I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do, but you know what I did? I went into their bedroom, because I was living with my parents, because my life had fallen apart from my first marriage. And I asked my parents prior to the wedding, do child molesters change? You know, my parents did not have an answer, but they also did not see the red flags that I was screaming for help. He had just revealed some disgusting things to me on the phone. And then, before I got an opportunity to really question them about it, or for them to question me, there was a knock at the front door, and he came over to pick me up because he wanted to take me over to his mother's house to make sure that I wasn't preparing to back out on the wedding. We went over to his mother's house, and you know what he did? When I told him that I didn't think I loved him, because I knew I didn't, but you know, you water it down because you're afraid. I was afraid. I just came out of an abusive relationship, an abusive marriage. I told him I didn't think I loved him, and he gets down on the floor, on his knees, and begs me to marry him and squeals like a pig. Oh, please! Oh, please! I'm so lonely! I want a wife! I'm so lonely! He starts squealing like a pig like that to try to get me to go ahead with the wedding ceremony. And I remember I gave in because I was naive, I was gullible, I was impressionable, and I was trusting. And icing on the cake, I was brainwashed by Watchtower. So I remember the thought going through my head, well, they have to change. I didn't know how to get out of it. I did not, I'm going to repeat it, I did not know how to get out of it. I knew it was a mistake, but when you've got a 6 million, a 9 million number religion standing behind you, they've got you blindfolded, in other words, brainwashed, and they have led you to the edge of a cliff. I brought this out in a previous video. They're leading you to the edge of a cliff. This is a cult, honey. Not one of those people in the congregation came forward and mentioned to me, "Sister, are you sure you want to do this?" He did tell you about his past, right? Did he tell you about the boy? Did he tell you about the boy he raped? You see the thing about Jerry Corson and his wife? Jerry and his wife chaperoned us on several different dates, and he did not bother to mention to me that he knew that Dave had gotten in trouble with the law for molesting the boy up the street. He knew it, and he even set up the video camera at the wedding. I have brought this up to him, and recently I was sending his sons messages on Facebook letting them know that I know what he did, because this was the morning that my ex revealed it to me, all of it. My head spun around like the Exorcist, symbolically. My head spinned around, and oh my gosh, it became very clear to me that he was doing things to my children right under my nose. And there's more to it. There's more to it, you know. So you've heard the meat of it. And I'll probably keep repeating it over and over again in different ways, pulling in more information. I want to make sure my audience knows that this kind of thing, where a congregation is not going to reveal ugly things about somebody's past and approves of a wedding with a toddler, with a pedophile, a full-blown machine gun loaded hard pecker for children, and they don't bother to tell you to get the fuck out of there? I didn't know how to get out of it. It wasn't me. That's what brainwashing is where you have unplugged yourself because they've told you that you can't be the same person you used to be. I hope my videos go viral. I want people to know what they did. I hope it gets back to the Australian Royal Commission, and I hope it gets around to the congregation at Pacific Heights and in the entire Independence area, in the entire Kansas City area, so people will be aware that this kind of stuff has to be stopped. And there are cults on all kinds of different levels out there. There are so many different types of cults, but when it's religious and they claim to be followers of Christ and they claim to be Jehovah's loving brotherhood and they claim to be a clean organization, they're teaching their new converts that it is a clean organization, and then they allow this kind of thing. You know what? 40 years later, somebody's going to come out of the woodwork and tell the world exactly what they did. And you know what? It's time. Hurrah, hurrah! It is time to tell the world. Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great day, you guys.